Marvel's Avengers. Let's talk about it. What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. Now welcome to my Platinum Trophy series. In this series, what I do is I talk about my experiences with a game. I review the game, I give you my opinions of the actual game. I then take it further and talk about the Platinum Trophy, my experiences of playing the Platinum Trophy, and whether or not I recommend as trophy hunters to whether or not you should play this game. Now today I'm going to be reviewing Marvel's Avengers. Now I've spoke about this game endlessly over the past 2 months since it came out. If you follow this channel at all, you know this, you've seen me rant about this in podcasts, and I've actually reviewed this game twice already. I reviewed the beta and I reviewed the actual game. Now all in all, there's about 40 minutes of reviewing if you want to watch them. I recommend you do watch them before you start this video if you haven't already. You don't have to, you can watch this video by itself, but just so you know that I'm only going to give this a rapid review, probably just 2 to 3 minutes, and then delve straight in with the Platinum Trophy stuff. Because I've said a lot of this stuff already, I've still got a little bit more to say. I've always got stuff to say about this game, but if you want to watch the full reviews, I recommend that first. Now in my other review, it's important to stress this as well, because I feel like because I come so hard on this game, I'm so critical, I don't want to be accused of not liking Marvel or not being like a fanboy, and I emphasised this massively in my review when I went through all of my comics, my rare comics that I actually have. And again, I'm going to prove it even further and say, you know what, I'm 26 and not many 26-year-olds get encyclopedias of the character guides for Avengers for Christmas. I got this last year or the year before, so people still buy me this sort of stuff. So if that isn't enough proof that my family and friends all think I'm, you know, excessively obsessed with this sort of stuff, I don't know what is. But my point is that I'm a huge fan. This guy would agree. Spidey over there. I'm a huge Marvel fan. I love it to death, and because of this, I cared so much about this game. I wanted it to be good. It's no understatement to say this is probably the biggest flop of the year, if not of the past few years, to be honest. I want to say it's my biggest disappointment of all time. It's definitely my most disappointed game of all time. However, this game looked bad even when we saw the gameplay footage when it first came out. So for me, my biggest disappointment in gaming is still Ubisoft's The Division. I thought that game looked incredible. It sold us on this amazing co-op experience, and it just didn't deliver it at all. And Ubisoft, you know, if you know Ubisoft, which most of you do, you know they're sneaky. Remember that trailer with Watch Dogs, how they sold us on a game that basically wasn't even the same? I think they did the same with Division, because I was so mad when I actually played the first couple hours of The Division. I remember thinking, like, what even is this game? Now, Square Enix and Crystal Dynamics were not smart enough to actually hide the quality of this game, so I think when we actually saw the trailers, I thought, this game looks bad, I know it looks bad, it won't be good enough. We then were given the beta a month before launch, which just confirmed that this game wasn't good enough, and it was empty and barren, and that is ultimately what this game is. I reviewed this game, I give it a score of a 6 out of 10 if you are not a Marvel fan. If you're a Marvel fan, maybe a 7. I would change that to, if you're a Marvel fan, it's a 6 out of 10. If you aren't a Marvel fan, it's probably a 4 out of 10. There's just not enough in this game. Now, I'm not going to review everything part by part. Like I said, if you want to watch my review of the graphics, the gameplay, the story, you can do all of that in that review. All I'm going to say is this game offers you 15 hours of content. If you think paying £50, £60 for the digital, which is what I paid for the base game, if you think, bear in mind that's next gen prices, if you think that your time is worth, a 15-hour experience is worth £60, then go buy this game. But I'm telling you it isn't. This game is easily worth $15 at the most. It is just not there at all. There's a good little story that lasts 15 hours, but it's weighed down by 6 to 7 hours of just multiplayer missions, so it's really a 7-hour, 8-hour campaign. And you know what, if they'd maybe focused on that more, it could have been a better game. They missed out so much stuff, and that ultimately is my review of the game. The gameplay is actually pretty good. The only good thing about the game is the fact that the characters play really well. The characters are awesome. They have good combat and good customizable combat, not good customization, which is another topic. The game is, in terms of customization, there's no customization. You have to buy pretty much every costume, which is not fair. The costumes aren't good at all. They're really lazy. You know, if you compare it to, say, something like Marvel Ultimate Alliance 2, where every character got 4 different costumes, in this game, in 2020, every character has 3 costumes, which are just changed the colour slightly. to get a different variation there. There's 8 to 9 costumes, but it's really just 3. So that is not good enough for a game of this sort of grandeur, this sort of level. And finally, the last comment I want to mention on the review is that it's supposed to be a looter shooter, looter combat style of game. So, you know, you replay the same levels, that is fine, and you get loot which enhances your characters and makes gameplay better. But the thing about loot is you're supposed to get it, and it does one of two things. It either makes your stats better, gives you special buffs which makes the gameplay change, or it changes your cosmetic look, so you look like a better or different character, and that is where the fun comes in. Customising your playstyle and customising your character. You cannot customise your character to how you want it at all, because they've hid it behind paywalls. If you think of Injustice 2, you could customise every single superhero. You could make your own Batman, you could make your own Superman, your own Batgirl. You know, the possibilities were endless. Not in this game, no. If you want customization for your cosmetics, you gotta buy them. You gotta give me some of that cheddar. So, you know, the cosmetics, the microtransactions aren't as bad as I actually thought they would have been, but they do limit the game's cosmetic side, and to be honest, that affects the post-game grind tenfold. And then as well as that, the loot system is completely broken because the game scales to your level. So why would you level up your gear when the enemies just level up with you? So if you're level 50, if your power level is 50, all the enemies are level 50 at 52. If your power level is 100, they're all level 100, 102. So what is the point? There is no point. For example, look at Borderlands. So Borderlands 2 is a great game. It's a long game, but it's a great game. And what you do is you go to areas, and areas are leveled. So, you know, and you start the first couple areas in the game, they're level 1 to 10. You get better gear, you find gear in that area that matches that area. The next one is level 10 to 20, and then this goes on for the rest of the game. So that, for example, when you're level 50, you can return to level 10 areas with your level 50 guns and just obliterate everybody. In Avengers, you can't do this. The game is mapped to your power level, so it just defeats the purpose of getting any loot. So there we've basically I've described to you the two things that looter shooters do in the end game. Get better stats and get better cosmetics. Neither of those things happen. So is there a point to the end game? No, not at all. Bear in mind as well, Borderlands 2 has a 30 to 40 hour campaign, then a 30 to 40 hour new game plus, and then it has a 100 hour to 200 hour post story end game. Avengers has a 15 hour story and then a 100 hour grind, and that is the game, and it's 100 hours of just nothing. So what is the point? So it is very laughably disgraceful. They've made this barren game, and I think what their plan was to do is to release content, but ultimately the content wasn't there to start with. So when they release this new stuff, people aren't going to be there. There's already less than 1,000 people playing it on PC at any one time. 1,000 people? Like, that's ridiculous. That's a lot to some, but it's a lot to my channel, hey. But ultimately, in terms of online games for AAA companies that have online, that is not enough. You know, you have hundreds of thousands of people playing Call of Duty, playing FIFA at any one time. So to think that this game's already got 1,000 after 6 weeks, it's just insane. And I think they're going to abandon their roadmap. I really hope they don't, because if there was an extra say there's an extra 20 villain sectors. Villain sectors are when you fight different bosses at the end. There's only 2. Sorry, there's 4, but there's 2 robots, which are just the generic enemies. So if there was, say, another 10 villain sectors, you had other villains like Warmonger and Whiplash from Iron Man off the top of my head, like, that would make the game better. And if you had that along with 4 or 5 other playable characters, and the areas were mapped on the different power levels, then it would all be a lot better. So this review, although I've already reviewed it, this is still the review and the problems with the game at launch. If you're watching this in 2021, 2022 or plus, this game could be completely different. I hope it is, because I don't want this game to fail. I wanted it to be really good, and the combat is good enough, but everything else is just so lackluster that it just lets it down on such a big scale that it could be. It's been getting called Anthem 2.0, and really, I completely get that, and I actually agree with that, because Anthem had a few good things. You know, the flying mechanics, the combat was okay, but it was just bogged down by not having enough detail. You know, there was like something like 3 different suits in a game based on flying in combat in these special suits, the javelins, and it's the same with Avengers. There's 6 characters, but there needs to be more. It's an Avengers game. It's not a prequel where there's only a few Avengers. In this world, there's actively tens of superheroes, so they should be in this game. I'm really passionate and really annoyed about this game because it had so much potential and it just didn't deliver at all. Really dropped the ball. I feel like maybe Square Enix have really been pressuring Crystal Dynamics to include the online stuff and the pay to win, the pay to customize even, and it wasn't a good experience at all. Now let's talk about the trophies. Okay, so the Platinum Trophy. This wouldn't be an understatement to say this is the most stressful Platinum Trophy I've ever earned. So this is my 335th Platinum Trophy. Yeah, a lot of them are easy games, but a lot of them are grinding games. You know, for example, Borderlands 2 was a big grind, about 150 hours. Days Gone was about 170 hours. This was not as long as those games, but it was really stressful for a few reasons. The biggest issue going in was the fact there was tons and tons of glitched trophies. At launch, the Platinum Trophy was not obtainable. You could not earn the Platinum Trophy at all because the Villain Settler's Trophy was glitched. Not only that, basically, I'm going to get a trophy list up in a moment, but this game is just a grind fest. It is pretty much finish the main story. That'll get you about 25 to 30% of the trophies for the game. The next stage is just literally, there's only 2 stages, just grind out everything else. Everything else is just complete so many of everything. Save 100 prisoners, finish 50 hive missions, which we'll get to in a moment, reach level 150, max out all characters to level 50, you know, finish all the harm moon missions. They're just ticking boxes. There's a few collectibles, but again, the collectibles are just broken again. You have to collect 50 intelligent files. Now, they are scattered in the main story, so you can get about 25 in playing the main story. However, the main story is not replayable. Once you've played it once, you cannot play it again. So if you missed them, like me, you have to grind them out. So how do you find the intelligent files? Are they collectibles in the map? No. They are found in loot boxes. You have to open loot boxes, and you have a chance of getting them in as a drop. So you will get items like gear, which is completely pointless, and you will get intelligence files or audio files. Now, this is also where it gets complicated, because the trophy was collecting 50 intelligence files. I had to collect over 80 for the Platinum Trophy, for the trophy to pop even, and that is because it was glitched. So basically, they did a big update called 1.2 or 1.3 about 3 weeks after launch, basically resetting all the trophies. So some people were getting the intelligence trophies, some weren't. So basically what it did is they updated it and went, okay, from 3 weeks in, from this point, you have to earn 50 intelligence files. So I was on about 30, so I had to earn another 50. And I'm convinced it was the same with the Hive. So this was another thing as well. If you wanted any of the trophies to work, you had to do them single player. This is a multiplayer game. So I basically spent. This game took me 120 hours, I believe, to platinum. So I say this because it was over 4 or 5 weeks. I wasn't keeping track every other time. So I'd say 110 hours plus or minus 10% standard deviation. That's what that is, apparently. So it's around about there. So I pretty much spent about 80 to 100 hours playing this multiplayer game by myself. So there'll be some content, some footage shown, and I had to spend a lot of time doing the same level, flying from these 8 points, collecting intelligence files, maybe getting them, or maybe them not dropping because of the annoying luck-based trophy that it is, and then from that I then had to replay the hives. So what are the hives? The hives are the longest missions in the game. The fastest one takes about 15 minutes, not including load times, not including being kicked from the games. So all in all, I'd say the average is about 20 minutes. I probably found that I got kicked out every 7 or 8 games, so add that on as well. And you gotta do 50 of them by yourself. That's a lot of time. It's about 20 hours, 15 to 20 hours of just grinding it out. However, I'm pretty certain that it was reset with the update, because I'm pretty sure I was on about 25, and then I had to do another 50 on top of that. It was rough. The game just highlights how empty and broken and just, honestly, pointless the game is. The gear system is just not enough to keep you encouraged because it's ultimately completely pointless. They've obviously been rushed in every aspect of this game in its development stages because of the publishers. That's what I believe anyway. We'll never find out properly, but that's what it feels like. It just feels empty and rushed. And you know what? People who make games love games. And I like to think that people wouldn't intentionally make this empty of a game unless they're being forced to do so. Other than those trophies that I've mentioned, they were the 2 biggest banes of my life, was finishing the 50 hives and getting the intelligence files. Without those 2 trophies, this trophy list wasn't that bad, and I think you probably could have knocked 40 hours off the trophy list without those 2 trophies. And I wouldn't have slated the game so much, and I think it's important to always remember that when you're playing for a platinum trophy, you're playing to finish the game, and sometimes games like these, they're not really made with trophy hunters in mind, or they aren't even made to be played for the extent that they actually want you to play for the platinum trophy. If I'd only played this game for 40 hours, I might have said, yeah, there's only a 15-hour game, and there's 25 hours, and it's a bit empty and a bit boring, but because I've played this game for 100 hours, 120 hours, I've really seen the end of this. I've seen through the mirror, through the spy hole. That's it, through the spy hole, and I've seen how there's nothing behind the walls. It's literally just smoke and mirrors for this game. It's just an empty world, and it just wasn't enough. And you know what, maybe in a year's time, when people pick this game up for the Platinum Trophy and they realise that there's actually a lot more there. You know, Hawkeye's there, Captain Marvel's there, Doctor Strange's there, Spider-Man's there. If he gets this far, I don't know if it'll even get to April at this rate, but if they're in it and there's a few more levels, a few more villains, there's a lot more fun to be had. But you know, I'm a Trophy Hunter first, and a lot of you guys who watch this are Trophy Hunters as well, and you want to know what my opinion is of the game. I've given you it. Don't play it. If you want to play this game for the story, I recommend you just do that and don't go for the Platinum Trophy. If you care about your completion rates like me, I'd probably recommend playing on a separate account and just having a little 15-minute story and then 15-hour story and then just leaving it, because the game is just not worth 100 hours that you'll have to play. And even with the patches and stuff, which will come, and this game's going to get better over the next couple of months, it still is a 100-hour Platinum Trophy if you ask me, and it's 70 hours of just frustration and boredom, ultimately. But hey, these are just the thoughts of some crazy mid-20 millennial who really just wants to have a little bit of a rant when he gets the opportunity, which is one of those opportunities. I haven't scripted this video. Normally I write a script, or at the very least I write bullet points and talk about them from there. I haven't done that with this game because I feel like I know this game inside and out. I played so much of this game that I could probably keep talking about it for hours and hours and hours, but I kind of didn't want it to be like that. I wanted to kind of shorten it down a little bit. So yeah, that is my opinion on Marvel's Avengers. A very empty game with an okay combat system, but ultimately a terrible loot system, and it's a loot based game with broken multiplayer and broken trophies, which are not fun anyway, and they have not thought about the Trophy Hunters while they've been trying to make this game. That's all for this one, guys. Thanks very much for watching. Please like and subscribe. Don't forget to turn on that notification bell. What are your thoughts on Marvel's Avengers? Let me know down below. I know a lot of you have already made your opinions pretty clear. I know there's going to be somebody who says, oh, I enjoyed this game, because I get a lot of this on Instagram and Twitter and YouTube, but you know, it's okay to enjoy okay games, but it doesn't mean they're a good game. Just because you enjoyed something doesn't mean it's a good game. I really enjoy, for example, a lot of early Jack Black movies and a lot of those indie comedies like Napoleon Dynamite and stuff. I think they're awesome. Doesn't mean they're great movies, it just is nostalgia for me, and I think they are hilarious because it suits my kind of humour, but I understand how they aren't favourites of everybody because they're not appeal to everybody. So, and I'm not going to go out there and say these movies that I love are the best movies in the world, because I know they aren't. And I think if you like Marvel's Avengers, you should sort of agree with that you can enjoy this game and say you like it, but it doesn't mean it's a good game, and it's definitely not the game it should have been, and that's the key thing. This game had so much potential. It could have been the next Marvel Spider-Man. It could have been better, and it is 10 times worse than Marvel Spider-Man that Insomniac made in 2018. That's my opinion anyway. Thanks for watching, guys. Take it easy.